Today is the day of the 2024 presidential election, where we're choosing either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump to be the president for the next 4 years. And what that means is it's the commencement of arguing which side of the political aisle is stupid, Democrats or Republicans. And it's probably both of us, and we're too dumb to know. Now, for myself, I did go out and vote this morning. I should have voted last week, early voting, but I didn't get the opportunity to. And when I finally did, the line was too long. So I went this morning. And up until the last moment, I was at odds about who I should vote for. I didn't know if I should vote for Donald Trump or if I should vote for Kamala Harris. And just like every other American, I had concerns. I had concerns about what the consequence of voting for either of these candidates meant for my family and my country. I wanted to vote for Donald Trump. But then I swayed and I said, I want to vote for Kamala Harris. But then I swayed back and said, maybe I should vote for Donald Trump. And up until the time that I cast my ballot, I had those reoccurring thoughts going back and forth, not entirely sure who I was going to bubble in. I did the paper ballot, not entirely sure who I was going to bubble in on the paper ballot. I'm going to tell you the reasons why I voted the way that I voted. We're going to start with Kamala Harris. The Democratic Party has been in control of this country as far as the presidency since 2008. Obama pulled us out of the recession. We've had a booming economy for the past 12 years, right? 2008 until 2020. The pandemic happens. And a lot of people like to blame Trump for the inflation, right? That's what the Democratic Party is saying, that he ruined the country. He was handed a bad economy, or they were handed a bad economy by him. But then they also turn around and say that the stimulus checks and a lot of the COVID relief stuff was signed by Democratic House of Representatives, and Donald Trump wrote his name on it. So we can't have it both ways. Did he ruin the economy, or did you guys sign off on all of these COVID relief funds and you guys ruined the economy? I don't know. It just seems a little suspicious to me. I'm confused. Another thing that I don't like is, as I reported on this channel, a lot of these swing states are importing a lot of immigrants. And people in these states and in these cities are saying that the illegals that are coming here are making it difficult for them in their own city. They're getting relief funds. They're getting funds and incentives that the civilians and the citizens are not getting. Up in New York, giving people money for housing to help them get out of shelters, giving them food and clothes. And that's fine, right? You should help your fellow man. You don't want to see anybody struggle. But sometimes you have to take care of home first because your home is in shambles. But that does not seem to be the priority for the Democratic Party in general. Now, is it a conspiracy that they're importing illegals to make them citizens so that in future elections, they'll have a larger Democratic voting base? I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I don't know if it's real. I'm completely misinformed and uninformed on that issue. But I don't like the idea of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people coming into this country undocumented and illegally. There is a process for becoming a citizen here. One of those things you can do is join the military. I had guys that were not U.S. citizens at the time that they joined, and they completed basic training, and they were sworn in as citizens of the U.S. Army, as service members of the U.S. Army, and civilians and citizens of the United States. There are other ways that you can gain citizenship in this country. And I understand that things may be going on in your country and you need to flee, but this is not the place for that at this time. We have enough problems going on that we can't help everybody and be everything to everybody all the time. We can't take in a bunch of people and give them support with money that we don't have. We can't send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. We can't send hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel. We can't deploy soldiers to the Middle East to fight wars. America wants to be everything to everybody, and we can't. In this global society where information travels at the speed of light, there's too many problems around the world, and we think that we're supposed to be the solution just because they pop up on our radar, and we're not. And that's one of the things that I don't like about the Democratic Party and why it was difficult for me to endorse Kamala Harris. I didn't want to endorse the continuation of this type of leadership. And then I looked at the things that Donald Trump was doing, saying, and I had to decide if I agree with them or I disagree with them. Did I want to put him in the White House over Kamala based on the things that I didn't like that the Democratic Party had going on? I was thinking about the Supreme Court, which right now is majority Republican. Last year, when they had the opportunity to repeal Roe v. Wade, they did. A lot of people like to call it an abortion ban. It's not a ban. It was pushing the right to abortion back to the states. But I do not like this idea. I lean more on a conservative and libertarian type of ideology, right? That's where my political stance is. I have some more progressive ideas, but it's generally libertarian and conservative. You know, I was born in Germany to American parents. I'm an American citizen. My pops was in the military. I've lived in Killeen, Texas. I've lived up in Fort Drum, New York, Watertown, New York, where Fort Drum is. Now I'm in the DMV. I've been a lot of different places, right? I lived in a lot of economically different places and socially and culturally different places, even within the DMV. But I lean more on that conservative and liberal side. So while the conservative ideology is that abortions are not something that they condone, the libertarian in me says it's not the government's fucking business what you do with your body. I'm not supporting or criticizing people for having abortions. But what I don't think it's ever the government's decision or right to tell you what you can and you can't do with your body. And the Supreme Court pushing Roe v. Wade back to the states is in support of the government telling you what's best for you. If you want to do all the drugs in the world, you should be able to do them. That's my personal viewpoint. There's going to be people that don't agree, but I think that the government should mind their fucking business when it comes to what you want to do with your body and what you want to put in your body. We've given far too much control to people that don't have to suffer the consequences of the decisions that we make, personal decisions, right? You can't just do anything. You can't go out, drink and drive and crash into somebody and that's just okay. But we already have laws for that, right? We don't need to reinvent the wheel in that aspect. But the Supreme Court has decided that they know what's best for you by sending this back to the states who inherited the responsibility of telling you what you can and can't do. And that's just something I can't support. I can never support any agenda or ideology where the government thinks they know better than the individual. And putting more Republican Supreme Court judges on the bench was not a risk that I could take. I'm not entirely sure where we would be going if we went down that path of electing more Supreme Court judges or confirming more Supreme Court judges that are Republican and putting them on the bench. But it's not really my cup of tea. So what's going on at the Supreme Court is already a non-starter for me. But I had to ask myself, is that something that I could get over? And for the most part, it's not really. It's really a point of contention for me. But, there's other factors besides that go into making an important decision of, like selecting the president. For a long time during the campaign, I thought that the Democrats would have a worse tax policy for my family. I thought that the tax policy that they presented would take more money out of my pocket. And then Kamala Harris, after she was elevated to be the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, released her plan. Part of her plan was taxing people more if you make over $400,000. Part of her plan was trying to make you sell off your unrealized gains so that you could pay taxes on them, which is a terrible fucking idea. Like, come on. And I said, this tax policy is going to suck for my family. But I got to look at Trump's policy. And while he has a lot of good ideas, they don't cater to what I need for my family. So we have the Supreme Court, we have taxes. Do I like his ideas on immigration? I don't know how you implement that in a mass scale, but I don't think, as I stated earlier, that we should just be accepting so many people that are undocumented and not going through the correct process into this country. So I support the idea that we're not going to be accepting and giving asylum to people that are not going through the correct legal process of getting into this country. I do support that. I also support the fact that Donald Trump does not want to keep sending aid to all of these countries that are fighting wars. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that the problems that we have going on here in America, we've got enough of them and not enough solutions. So why are we sending our resources to other countries en masse? I'm not saying we can't help people out. We want everybody to live peacefully. We want everybody to get along. But en masse, we're sending way too much money away. There's a bridge here in the DC area over by, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the DMV area. There's a neighborhood called Kenilworth. It's the hood. A year or two ago, that pedestrian bridge collapsed. It's like an overpass bridge, and then you have some cars that can drive under it. But in order to get to both sides of the street, civilians can walk over that bridge. That bridge collapsed. DC collects a ton of fucking money from traffic violations. No, it's not the federal responsibility to fix that. Actually, it's DC, so it might be. No, it's not. For the sake of this argument, no, it's not the federal responsibility to fix these state issues. But it's an indication of us mismanaging our money. Oh, like the Pentagon's $900 billion what's it called, audit, and they don't know where all of that money is, all of that money is gone. It's utterly ridiculous. We've got to get a better handle on our finances and our spending as a country and as individuals, but that's a story for another time. So I like Trump's ideas on immigration and foreign policy to an extent. I do not like that he's nominated and confirmed Supreme Court judges that are more Republican leaning, because I don't think they have good ideas about where the future of this country should go. And I don't like his tax plan. So when I got to the poll today, I was at an impasse. I have things that I really like, some things that I kind of like, and some things that I don't like on the Democratic side and the Republican side. But the things that I didn't like on the Democratic side were not enough to make me vote Republican. So I had to cast a vote today for Kamala Harris. And I don't know if she'll be the first female president. And honestly, I'm skeptical about it. I think that if there was going to be a female president in this country at this time, in my time, it would have been Hillary Clinton. Because she was a longstanding politician and had been in politics for so long, I thought that she would have the edge. She didn't. We see where that went. And now, less than a decade later, there's an opportunity for Kamala Harris to be the first female president. And I didn't vote for her because she's female. I told you the policies and ideas that I liked and I didn't like. But tonight, on November 5th, 2024, we might make history. Who knows? But one thing I can tell you is that it's going to be interesting. Till next time. Peace.